You cannot claim to be an animal lover if you are not vegan. Because if you are not vegan, you are literally funding an industry that is solely based on abusing animals, treating animals like shit, forcing animals to live in shit, just so that you can spend a few minutes feasting on their flesh and literally turn these animals into shit and flush them down the toilet. You cannot claim to be an animal lover if you are not vegan. You might be a dog lover, you might be a cat lover, but you're not an animal lover. You literally have animals abused and killed all day long for every single non-vegan product you consume. And animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation. So yeah, as 1 acre of land is cleared every single second of every day, and it's mainly to graze and grow food for livestock, there are countless species of animals being killed in the process, on top of the fact that millions of wild animals are intentionally killed every year on behalf of the animal agriculture industry, because animals like wild American horses compete with livestock for grazing land and water resources. And animals like wolves, cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes, lynxes, foxes, those animals are a threat to livestock, so they're being annihilated. So yeah, you cannot claim to be an animal lover if you're not vegan. You cannot even claim to be a nature lover if you are not vegan. And really, if you actually knew the truth of how destructive and evil this industry is, you can't even claim to love God, because you're literally going against God. You're literally going against God by not being vegan. Thou shalt not kill is a commandment, and there are no exceptions listed next to that. The Garden of Eden was vegan. On the very first page of the Bible, Genesis 1:29, God's dietary plan for us is to be vegan. And again, this industry is literally destroying everything that God created. The forests, the rivers, the oceans, the animals, and even the people. Right now, there are 1 billion people starving because food they could eat is being used to fatten livestock. And every day, millions, well, I wouldn't say millions, but thousands of people die prematurely every day from heart attacks and strokes and cancer. A lot of these diseases are linked to the consumption of animal products. It's not vegans dropping dead prematurely from heart attacks and strokes and cancer. It's not vegans filling up the hospital beds. It's not vegans starting pandemics. Like COVID was started by someone eating an animal. And even if you think it was started in a lab, what about bird flu, which comes from the poultry industry? What about swine flu that comes from the pork industry? What about Ebola and MERS and SARS? Mad cow disease. Yeah, it's sad that there are so many people that are literally pro-animal abuse. If you're not vegan, you're pro-animal abuse. That's what veganism is. Veganism is a stand against animal abuse. So if you're not vegan, you're pro-animal abuse. You are pro-animal abuse. That's what it is. That's what it actually means to not be vegan. That is what it really means to not be vegan. That you're pro-animal abuse. You're supporting animal abuse. All of those animal products that non-vegans are consuming all day long are derived from extreme animal abuse. And not just the physical abuse of animals. We're talking about this psychological abuse of animals. And even the sexual abuse of animals. Because that very first step in the process of producing animal products literally involves what the industry terms artificial insemination. But if you look at the instructional videos put out by the pork industry, by the dairy industry, by the poultry industry, by even the honey industry and the salmon industry. You will see this so-called artificial insemination process, thank you, is not artificial insemination. It's sexual assault and it's bestiality. Yes, because for those farmers to be able to artificially inseminate those female animals to get them to reproduce, they have to have semen, of course. And how they get that semen is they literally masturbate male animals. And I am not even joking in the slightest. Literally, they masturbate them, force them to ejaculate, take that stolen semen and force it into the vaginas of those unconsenting female animals to get them to reproduce. Thank you for the gift. If you were to force semen into a woman's vagina without her consent, nobody in their right mind would say that that's artificial insemination. That would be a crime of rape, of sexual assault. Now, I'm not saying, it's the same exact thing. I understand there's a whole emotional thing, like a human actually knows what's going on. They could be traumatized. It could lead to suicide. It's a very traumatic thing for a person. Now, an animal might not go commit suicide over being sexually assaulted, but neither would a human in a coma. That's not able to comprehend what's going on, that's not aware, that didn't know anything, didn't feel anything because they were in a coma, doesn't make it right to sexually assault someone because they can't say no, because they can't give consent. But that's what these farmers think. Like the Iowa dairy farmer, for instance. He literally has a TikTok where he is shoving semen into the vagina of an unconsenting dairy cow. None of those dairy cows consent. They can't consent. That means leave them the fuck alone and stop shoving semen into their vaginas. But these farmers lie and they call this artificial insemination. They literally shove semen into the vaginas of unconsenting female animals. And this is not being done to benefit these animals in any way whatsoever. Okay? This is being done, this very sinister thing of sexually assaulting animals to get them to reproduce is being done for an even more sinister purpose of stealing the babies off of these animals, torturing these babies. Yes, these babies are tortured in most cases. Pigs literally have their tails cut off, their ears clipped, their teeth clipped. The males are castrated. All of this without any anesthetic, without any pain relievers. Then they're put in a shit-filled dungeon, a huge industrial shed where they cram thousands of pigs in. Let them live there for 6 months in such filth. They have to be given antibiotics to keep them from dying. Yes, these animals are being tortured. They're being mutilated. It's not just the one bad day at the slaughterhouse. Chickens are forced to grow so abnormally fast and large that a lot of these birds end up becoming crippled under their own weight as babies. Those chickens are only 6 weeks old when they're slaughtered. They can live over 7 years. They're just babies, but they look like they're full-grown adult birds. That's because they are bred to grow so abnormally fast and large that by the time they're just 6 weeks old, they're ready to be slaughtered. And a lot of those birds end up becoming crippled under their own weight. And these people who raise these birds like this, literally, I saw a TikTok of somebody who raises Cornish hens for slaughter, for food. And she was literally saying, oh, I have to slaughter them at 8 weeks old. I'm doing them a favor because if they lived to be 10 weeks, they would become crippled. Anybody with a functioning brain cell can understand that that in itself is animal abuse. Breeding an animal to grow so large that they become crippled. They become crippled. How in the hell am I living in this world where people can't even comprehend that that's animal abuse? They're acting like they're doing that animal a favor by slaughtering them because, oh, well, I have to slaughter them at 8 weeks old because if I don't, they'll become crippled by 10 weeks old. This industry is fucking crazy as fuck. I'm telling you, people, you need to go vegan unless you are pro animal abuse. Seriously. I did not go vegan because I didn't like eating bacon. I did not go vegan because I didn't like eating filet mignon. I did not go vegan because I didn't like eating cheese. I went vegan because I saw how those products were being produced, and it was clear as day that those animals are being abused. Even these animals that are on homesteads, being raised by people who treat them really good, just know that the better those animals are treated, the more they want to live. So for all of you who are raising your own animals so you can eat them, the better those animals are treated, the more they want to live. And the greater the betrayal it is when you rob them of their life. Treating someone nice before you kill and eat them, that isn't kindness. That isn't compassion. That isn't humane. That is psychotic. And you know what else is psychotic? Did you hear the story of the little girl with the goat who her mother got her a goat to raise, to send, to auction off for money from the 4-H program? And the little girl became attached to this goat and did not want to let the goat go off to be slaughtered. She had lost 3 grandparents within a year's time. And then she got this goat that her mother got her. And I don't know if it was the girl's intention to sell the goat off, or if it was just the mother that was in her head to just sell the goat off to be slaughtered. Well, the girl formed a bond. Surprise, surprise, because yes, it is very easy to bond with another sentient creature who has emotions just like we do, who has needs just like we do, who enjoy playing just like we do, who form friendships just like we do. Yeah, surprise, surprise, this 9-year-old girl got attached to this goat that her mother got her from the 4-H program for her to raise for a few months and then auction off for money so that the person that bought the goat would slaughter it for food. Turns out the girl changed her mind. And the guy who ended up, who was I think a senator or a state representative in California, the mother reached out to him and he agreed to give the goat back to the girl as long as he got his money back. He agreed to give the goat back. But the 4-H program steps in, says, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. We got to teach this little 9-year-old girl a lesson that she can't break the rules. They sent the cops out. They drove 500 miles to track down this goat that the mother took back because they didn't want the goat to be slaughtered after they bonded with the goat. But they were willing to give the money back and any other additional costs back for them to be able to keep the goat. Well, the cops got involved. They tracked the goat down, took the goat, and slaughtered that goat and ate. I think it was the law enforcement themselves that took the goat and actually slaughtered the goat and ate the goat. That's how crazy this world is. And I just heard about that story today, and that happened over a week ago. It's like, I don't know where I was. I've been on social media, at least on TikTok every day. That story never popped up in my feed until today when I was on some buddy's TikTok comment section who is involved with the 4-H program, and somebody had made a comment because they were pissed off about the little girl and her goat, and I was like, what the fuck is this story about? And that just happened like a week ago, and I never even heard anything about it. Well, that just proves to you how vile the animal agriculture industry is. That they literally brainwash people to think that animals are food. And then when people start making the connection that animals are not food, that they're our friend and we should protect them and we should not send them to slaughter, then they lose their motherfucking minds and they steal a 9-year-old girl's goat off of her and slaughter that goat to make a point. Yeah, what point were they actually trying to make? They say that they were trying to teach the little girl a lesson, that she's not allowed to break the rules. She has to follow the rules. No, what they were really teaching all of us is that devils do exist. Devils do exist in human form. I am not religious, but good does exist. And unfortunately, evil does exist. I am vegan because I am against evil. The animal agriculture industry is the epitome of evil. It is the epitome of evil. This vile, disgusting, filthy industry that's literally based on taking the souls of innocent beings over nothing but the sins, the deadly sins of greed and gluttony. That is all this is being done over. The slaughter of these animals, this massacre that just never ends. Every day, hundreds of millions of animals are slaughtered over nothing more than the sins of greed and gluttony. And all of you are falling for it. All of you are falling for it and literally saying that God put animals here for us to eat. How insane. When, yeah, if you want to follow the Bible, follow the Bible. Thou shalt not kill. That is a commandment. There are no exceptions listed next to that commandment. No exceptions. The Garden of Eden was vegan. Genesis 1:29 on the very first page of the Bible. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. Romans 14:21. It is good not to eat meat. Isaiah 11:6-9. The wolf will lay with the lamb, and there will be no more harm. Why on earth do these people in this industry, why on earth do they just want to slaughter, kill, destroy everything God created? Animals, the forests, the rivers, the oceans, even the people. Yes, everything's being destroyed because of this disgusting industry. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation. It is the leading cause of species extinction, water pollution, water depletion, ocean dead zones, ocean plastics, fisheries depletion, pandemics, world hunger, and climate change. Thousands of people drop dead prematurely every single day from heart attacks and strokes and kidney disease. And it's not vegans. It's not vegans dropping dead by the thousands prematurely each day. It's not vegans filling up those hospital beds. It's not vegans causing pandemics. Yeah, food chain. What food chain do you shop at? Because the food chain I shop at is filled with plant-based food options. And the plant-based food options are so much more healthier for us, much better for the planet, and no animal has to suffer and die. For some reason, all people want to do is kill. If that meal doesn't contain an animal's body part, they don't know what the fuck else to eat. Like, what do you vegans eat? Grass? Sticks? Rocks? I mean, that's how conditioned this disgusting industry has. This is how conditioned they have gotten everybody. That when people hear that someone's a vegan, they're like, what do you vegans eat? What do you, if you vegans don't eat dead animal carcasses, what on earth do you eat? If you don't eat the things that come out of a bird's shit-encrusted ass vagina or a cow's infected udder, what on earth do you vegans eat? Grass? Sticks? Rocks? leaves. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And how vegans constantly get harassed and teased. We get called crazy. Oh, and yeah, we certainly get crazy when we bring up the fact, you know, that, well, that's not the one I meant to. Let me try this again. When we bring up the fact that animals are being sexually abused to produce animal products, all animal products, people think we're out of our minds. That's why a lot of vegans don't bring this up. Well, some vegans don't even know that this is happening. But a lot of vegans won't bring this up because they're either afraid their account is going to get banned if they talk about this standard practice in the animal agriculture industry. Or, you know, they'll think people will think they're crazy because people call me crazy because I talk about this. Well, how is this ever going to end if people don't even know that it's happening? And again, some vegans don't even know that this is happening. Some vegans don't. I know when I first went vegan, I didn't know that this was happening to animals. I went vegan when I was 42 years old. And when I first went vegan, I had no idea this was happening. That was back in 2015 when I was 42 years old. And, you know, just a year ago, just a little over a year ago, when I was doing a video, I think it was a video I was posting with Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe. There was an episode where Mike Rowe goes to a turkey farm. And the turkey farmer demonstrates how he collects semen from a male turkey, how he restrains that male turkey, how he fondles that male turkey, how he has like a straw, like a tube that leads right to the private parts of that turkey, and how he sucks up the semen after he sexually stimulates him and gets him to ejaculate. True story. If you think I'm talking crazy, it's on YouTube. If you look up sucking turkey semen on YouTube, you will come across that episode of Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe where he goes to the turkey farm and the turkey farmer demonstrates how he collects semen from a male turkey. Extremely disturbing. But I was thinking last year when I was posting this to raise awareness so people will go vegan, so they'll know like every reason why they need to be vegan. I was thinking, wait a second, if they're doing this to pigs and turkeys and cows, are they doing this to fish? So I just did a search. Artificial insemination of fish. And I came across a National Geographic program where they did a special on the artificial insemination process of salmon. And yes, they are masturbating salmon, collecting their semen. But in the case of the female salmon, they do not force the semen into her to fertilize her eggs. They kill her, cut her open, steal her eggs, and take those eggs back to the hatchery and fertilize them. And then I was thinking, wait a second, if they're doing this to cows, pigs, chickens, fish, don't even tell me they're doing this to bees. So I did a search, artificial insemination of bees. Oh, and there was even more instructional videos put out on that artificial insemination process. How they literally squeeze on the abdomen of the male bee to force him to ejaculate, and that after he ejaculates, he dies. Then they restrain the queen bee and literally force the semen from 20 different male bees into her to force her to reproduce. Again, if you were to force semen into a woman's vagina without her consent, that would not be artificial insemination. That would be sexual assault. Thank you for that. So I'm just stating facts here, people. I know they sound disturbing. I know they sound crazy, but they are facts. And it is crazy. It is disturbing. This should not be happening. This needs to stop. But it's not going to stop if people don't even know that it's happening, because this has been going on for decades and decades and decades. And most people are still unaware that this is the very, very first step in the production of all animal products. Those animals are not mating naturally. Some of those animals can't even mate naturally if they wanted to, like chickens and turkeys. They are bred to grow so abnormally large that physically they cannot mate. So they literally masturbate. They have to masturbate if they want them to reproduce, to raise their babies. They don't have to do that. They shouldn't be doing this. But again, if this was illegal, which it should be, but if this was illegal, the whole entire animal agriculture industry would collapse. True story. If those farmers were no longer allowed to masturbate those male animals and force them to ejaculate and force that semen into those unconsenting female animals' vaginas, this whole industry would collapse because it's based on this. Based on being able to sexually violate these animals, to collect their semen and to force that semen into those unconsenting female animals. It's disturbing, and I don't see how anybody can continue to support this industry knowing the truth. And it's just disturbing that there are so many people here defending it. And I guess that's because most of you people who are saying, oh, I support it. That's probably because you are a flesh farmer yourself. So that's why you support this. But this is bestiality. And if you're a Christian, look at what your Bible says about bestiality. It is a major sin. It is a major sin. So yeah, definitely if you're a Christian, you absolutely need to go vegan right now. You need to go vegan right now. But even if you're not a Christian, doesn't matter. Nobody in their right mind should be funding bestiality. But you are if you're not vegan. This is a human. That is an animal. She's literally sexually stimulating him, forcing him to ejaculate. That is sexual relations between a human and an animal, and that is in fact bestiality, and it should be a crime. But again, it's not, because this whole industry would collapse if it was illegal for them to do this. And this is also sexual assault, because these animals do not give consent to having their private parts touched. Anybody in their right mind should know that it is not okay to touch anyone's private parts. But some people are like, oh, but they can't consent. So fine. It's so fine for us to do this to them. Yeah, that's really creepy. That's really creepy. That is so creepy. That you think it's okay to sexually violate animals. And that, you know, the Iowa dairy farmers literally shoving semen into the vagina of an unconsenting dairy cow, making a TikTok video of him doing this. And acting like, oh, see, vegans think this is rape and it's so violent. But look, she's just laying there. She's not resisting. She's not putting up a fight. That is so cringy. It's like, because a woman doesn't put up a fight, because a woman doesn't resist, then it can't be sexual assault? Really? Really? Because that's what he's implying. That look at that dairy cow just lay there and let me force that semen into her vagina. She's just letting me do it, you know, making it easy for me. It's like, so if a woman doesn't resist, then it can't be sexual assault? Really? Yeah, he should be banned. He should be banned for that. He should be banned. Yeah, if that dairy cow understood what he was doing to her and why he was doing that to her, she certainly would not consent to that being done to her. You see, I know what he's doing to her. I know why he's doing it to her. And it's for a very extremely sinister purpose. Stealing her baby from her as soon as she gives birth, sending that baby off to be slaughtered if that baby's a boy, to steal that baby's baby food and sell it to you for profit. And then he sends those dairy cows off to a slaughterhouse when they can no longer make enough money to be profitable. And then he makes TikTok videos about it and laughs about it. Laughs about the fact that he sends his dairy cows to the slaughterhouse. And then these dairy farmers claim to love those cows, as they literally laugh at the fact they send them to a slaughterhouse and turn them into whoppers, whoppers, whoppers. So disgusting. I can't wait till this industry is banned. And, you know, I just wish more people would go vegan and stand up for these animals and stop standing up for the animal abusers. I'm on the side of the animals. As much as you might hate me because, you know, you think I'm annoying or whatever, you know, the only reason why I am here is for these animals, because they can't use TikTok. They can't use TikTok to get their stories out there. They can't use TikTok to let people know what these farmers are doing to them. So I'm going to do it for them, because they can't do it for themselves. So veganism is not about me. Veganism is not about that vegan teacher. You can hate on us all you want. But if you claim to be an animal lover, you need to go vegan right now and stop with the ridiculous excuses. There's absolutely no justifiable excuse for funding animal abuse, especially when we're talking about the sexual abuse of animals. Nobody needs to eat animal carcasses to be healthy. Nobody needs to drink baby cow growth fluid to be healthy. There's a reason why most people have issues digesting cow's milk, and it's not because they're lactose intolerant. It's because they are not baby cows. Cow's milk is baby food for baby cows. Get that through your head. Those dairy cows do not automatically produce milk. They actually produce milk because they are mothers. Yeah, that's another thing most people don't realize. They actually think that dairy cows produce milk just because they're dairy cows. That's what they do. They're dairy cows. No, they actually are mothers. That's why they produce milk. Just like, a woman produces milk. It's not an automatic thing. I have never produced milk because I was never pregnant. I never was a mother. I've never had milk coming out of me. Okay? No. It's not an automatic thing. For humans, it's not an automatic thing for dairy cows. Those dairy cows are forcibly impregnated. Their babies are stolen from them within hours. Thanks for the roses. Their babies are stolen from them within hours so that that mother and that baby do not form a bond. And so that when that dairy farmer hooks that cow up to that milking machine, 2-3 times a day, this little baby doesn't interfere with that process, that this little baby doesn't suck up any of his profits. And this is standard practice, believe it or not. People don't want to believe this because they're no way. No. But yeah, I can show you dairy farm after dairy farm after dairy farm after dairy farm of newborn calves in this same condition, buried in snow. Because this is what happens when they take those calves off those dairy cows. Within hours of being born, they're taken off their mothers. This is how most of them are kept. In tiny little pens outside. So yeah, if they're up north and there's a blizzard, like, oh my God, this winter up north, blizzard after blizzard. Yeah, see how many dairy farms there are in your area. If you have experienced snowstorms this winter, and just look how many dairy farms are in your state. This is going to be the condition of those calves on those dairy farms in those states that have seen these winter storms. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where this image came from. But this one I do. Yeah, this image, I know exactly where this came from. This was posted on YouTube by a dairy farmer in North Dakota. Yep, a dairy farmer in North Dakota posted this video, and this is a screenshot of it. And notice how these pens are actually inside of a barn. And the wind was blowing so hard that the snow managed to go through and bury these calves, even though they were inside. They still got buried in snow. I could show you footage from dairy farms in China. Calves in the same type of conditions, in tiny little pens just like this with a little hutch, buried in snow. Let me see. I've been on here for 35 minutes. And it's going on 1 o'clock, and I got to get up for work in the morning. I would just love to advocate for animals 24/7, because animals are being slaughtered 24/7. I would love to be able to just do this all day, all night, because these animals are being slaughtered nonstop, literally every single day. Hundreds of millions of animals are slaughtered. About 200 million animals each day are forced into slaughterhouses around the globe. Hundreds of millions of animals are pulled from the oceans each day and slaughtered for seafood. And in case you don't know, seals aren't, most people, when they see those baby seals being bludgeoned to death, they're thinking the fur industry. Oh, those people that wear fur. Yeah, let me just say that I do not wear fur. Never did, never would. Well, actually, I think when I was a little girl, my dad bought me a rabbit fur coat. I just wish I had known better back then. My dad, I know he didn't know any better too, because that was way back before, social media and people, just like meat. Like I used to eat meat because I just saw it as food. When you're a kid and, especially before social media, before YouTube and all of that, before Faces of Death, you see a fur coat and, oh, that's nice. Oh, and you don't think like, oh, an animal had to die for that. But yeah, like if you see what they're doing to the animals, like I've literally seen footage of foxes skinned alive after their skin or after their fur is removed. Still alive after they've been skinned of their fur. Still alive. I've seen footage like that. I mean, it's a brutal, evil industry. But yeah, just know that when you see footage of those seals, those harp seals being bludgeoned to death, that's not just happening for the fur industry. That's also happening for the seafood industry. So yeah, if you're consuming seafood, you're not just responsible for fish being killed. You're responsible for seals being bludgeoned to death, because yeah, fishermen are bludgeoning those seals to death because they compete with the fish. Fishermen want all that fish for themselves to kill to sell to you for profit. They kill their competition. Seals, sea lions, the dolphins, the whales. These animals are being intentionally killed so you can consume seafood. And they're being accidentally killed too. I mean, dolphins, whales, sea turtles, sea lions, seals, they get caught up in those nets. Those nets that they drop to catch those fish that they sell as seafood, those are indiscriminate. They pick up anything in the way. And then, the commercial fishing industry leaves, these huge nets behind, ghost fishing gear left behind by the commercial fishing industry, one of the main causes of plastic in the ocean. And those large fishing nets, they tangle up marine animals like dolphins and whales and turtles and sea lions. And so these animals are being intentionally killed and unintentionally killed for you to be able to consume seafood. So there's just no way around this. Going pescatarian doesn't do any good. Becoming a vegetarian doesn't do any good. You are still funding extreme animal cruelty by not being vegan. So you have to go vegan. I mean, maybe you are for animal cruelty. So I don't even know why you're here. If you're for animal cruelty, why are you even here? Because I can't make you go vegan. I cannot make you go vegan. If I could, I absolutely would force you to stop paying people to force animals to die. But I can't. So you could very easily just ignore me, like you ignore the fact that you cause so much harm to animals. Yeah, you can very easily ignore me like you ignore your victims. But yeah, if you claim to be an animal lover, you have to go vegan right now. If you claim to be against animal abuse, like, you don't have to be an animal lover to be vegan. You just have to understand that it is wrong to abuse someone, to cause harm to someone, to kill someone over something as trivial as a food preference. Yeah, there's endless plant-based options. I still eat crab cakes. Yeah, plant-based crab cakes. I still eat chicken, plant-based chicken. I still eat cheese, plant-based cheese. Like, just about anything and everything can be veganized. So there's no reason to be harming animals. And you are harming animals every single time you consume a non-vegan product. As much as you don't want to believe that, as much as you want to believe, oh, these animals, they're going to die anyway, or they would have never existed. Like, so isn't it good? Isn't it good that they, lived? They got a chance to live at least? No, because they live no kind of life worth living. Like, 99% of these animals in this industry don't live any kind of life worth living. And for the 1% of animals that might live any kind of life worth living, if you're buying meat from a truly pasture-raised animal, well, that meat's going to cost a hell of a lot more money. Yeah, organic meat's going to cost a little bit more money, but truly pasture-raised meat is going to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times the cost. But again, the better those animals are treated, the more they want to live. The more they want to live. And the greater the betrayal it is when you kill them, when you rob them of their very existence. Yeah, treating someone nice before you kill and eat them, that is not humane treatment. That is psychotic. So yeah, there's just no way around this. You have to go vegan if you are against animal cruelty. You have to go vegan if you want to save the planet, because going vegan, it's the only way you really can save the planet, because animal agriculture is that environmentally destructive. It is the leading cause of deforestation, species extinction, water pollution, water depletion, ocean dead zones, ocean plastics, fisheries depletion, pandemics, world hunger, and climate change. Yeah, if you're against plant cruelty, you must go vegan too. If you're against this, see, there's no way around this. You have to go vegan unless you are pro-plant cruelty, you're pro-animal cruelty. Because yeah, if you're against plant cruelty, more plants, a lot more plants have to be killed to feed livestock than need to be killed for direct human consumption. And animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation. So yeah, think about what that means for plants. As an acre of land is cleared every single second of every day, and it is mainly to graze and grow food for livestock. So yeah, if you're truly concerned about plants, not only must you go vegan, but you should become a fruitarian, because no plants are harmed for fruits, nuts, or seeds. So yeah, the very least you can do right now, at least, if you claim to be against animal cruelty, the very least you can do right now is in the search box right here on TikTok, put 2 words. Vegan recipes. Put vegan recipes in the search box. You will come across endless vegan recipes. Go through some of those recipes, and if you see something that looks good, click on it. Follow the creator who posted it. You will see that it's so easy to be vegan, and just about anything and everything can be veganized. Even bacon, even ice cream, even cheese. No, you don't have to kill any animals for crop production. There is such a thing as non-lethal methods of pest control, like sonic devices, laser devices, pepper spray, fencing, netting. There's vertical farming, veganic farming, greenhouses, growing your own food. You don't have to kill animals for crop production. There are non-lethal methods of pest control. And if you're talking about animals being caught up in harvesting equipment, well, animals have ears and legs and a will to live, and when they sense danger, they can run, and that's typically what they do when they sense danger. But those animals inside of those slaughterhouses, they cannot run. And it's not just one bad day at the slaughterhouse these animals endure. Their whole brief existence is pure misery. I mean, pigs literally have their tails cut off, their teeth clipped, their ears clipped. The males are castrated, all of this without any anesthesia or any pain relievers. Then they're forced to live in overcrowded, shit-filled sheds for 6 months in such filth they have to be given antibiotics to keep them alive long enough to make it to the slaughterhouse. And they don't go into those slaughterhouses willingly. Just stand outside of a slaughterhouse and listen to what's happening. Listen to those animals screaming for their lives. It's horrible. Slaughterhouses are the most hellish places on the planet, and nobody should be supporting them. But before I sign off, I think I'm going to get ready to sign off because, again, it's almost 1 o'clock. And I'm very, very tired. I'm very sleep deprived. I only get about 5 hours of sleep every night. So I'm just really, it's catching up to me. So I think I'm going to sign off in the next few minutes. But before I sign off, I just want to, say, even if you're a vegetarian, you are funding extreme animal cruelty. I know you don't want to believe it. I know you want to, claim that chickens don't have to be harmed. They just lay eggs. It doesn't hurt them. Dairy cows produce milk. That's just what they do. It doesn't hurt them to take their milk from them. It's actually good that we milk them because if we don't, they'll get infections of their udders and stuff. So no, that's not true. These animals are being abused and they're all being killed. The dairy cows, when they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable, they are sent to slaughter. That's where ground beef comes from. Egg-laying hens, when they can no longer lay enough eggs to be profitable, they are sent to slaughter. That typically happens at about 1 year of age, 1.5 years of age, when they can live over 7 years. Let me just explain the egg industry quickly from beginning to end, okay? First step in producing eggs, for those eggs on your store shelf to come to be. They masturbate a rooster. They sexually stimulate him to get him to ejaculate. So they can take his semen, force it into a hen to fertilize her eggs, so that those eggs hatch into the eggs that lay the eggs on store shelves. And at those hatcheries where all of those egg-laying hens come from, they cannot determine the sex of the chicks until they hatch. So upon hatching, they sort the males, and like this image at the top left here, they dump them into a macerator and grind them up alive as soon as they hatch, because the egg industry has no use for the male chicks. And this breed of bird is not the same breed used for meat. This breed of bird does not grow quick enough or big enough to be profitable for meat. So they're ground up alive on day one. But you know what? The egg-laying hens actually have it even worse. They were probably better off being ground up alive on day one because those egg-laying hens are forced to produce 10 times more eggs than is natural. That puts a lot of stress on their bodies, causing all kinds of health issues. And most of these hens are literally crammed into cages where they can barely move. And even the free-range egg-laying hens, thank you for the roses, even the free-range egg-laying hens are still crammed. They're still crammed in these huge industrial sheds. And they're forced to produce so many more eggs than is natural for them, like 10 times more eggs than is natural for them, that by the time they're just 1.5 years of age, their bodies can no longer produce that amount of eggs. Like basically almost 1 egg every day, when they should only be producing like 1 egg every month. By the time they're just about 1.5 years of age, they become spent, meaning they can no longer produce enough eggs to be profitable, so they are sent to slaughter and turned into dog food or chicken soup. And the dairy industry, unlike what most people believe, dairy cows actually produce milk because they're mothers, not because they are dairy cows. They are forcibly impregnated. They literally have select bulls in the dairy industry that they collect semen from They either masturbate those bulls, or they will shove an electro-ejaculator in their anus to force them to ejaculate. That is bestiality, and it is sexual assault. Yes, sexually stimulating an animal, that's sexual assault. They can't give consent, so leave them the fuck alone. And a human sexually stimulating an animal and forcing them to ejaculate, that is bestiality. Then they take the semen from these bulls, shove it into those unconsenting dairy cows, thank you for that, and force them to start lactating. You know, make them pregnant so that they will start lactating. And then within hours of those dairy cows giving birth to their babies are taken from them. So that dairy cow and her baby do not bond with one another. So that when that dairy farmer sells that calf off to be slaughtered, if that calf is a boy, they send all those male calves off to the veal farm or off to the beef industry to be slaughtered for their flesh. And just know that beef cattle are actually only 12 to 22 months old when they're slaughtered. They can live over 20 years. So all of those male calves, whether they're slaughtered for veal or slaughtered for beef, they are all slaughtered very, very young. And they also take these little calves off those dairy cows so that the baby does not interfere with the dairy farmer taking that dairy cow to the milking parlor multiple times a day to suck this baby's food out of her body. Because they don't want this baby sucking up any of their profits. The whole reason why they get those dairy cows pregnant and get them to start lactating is so they can steal that food from their body that's intended for their babies and sell it to you. So when you're consuming dairy products, you're actually consuming stolen baby food. Stolen baby food. And yes, those dairy cows are sent to slaughter when they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable. They are forced to produce about 10 times more milk than is natural for them. So by the time they're just about 5 years of age, their bodies can no longer keep up with that kind of milk production. So then they become spent, meaning they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable. So then they are sent to slaughter. And typically what happens is they're turned into ground beef. So that's where your hamburgers come from. Your Whoppers. So yeah, it's all based on animal cruelty. And in case you don't know, it's not just the cows, pigs, chickens, and fish that are being intentionally killed for your food preferences. It's also wild American horses, because they compete with cattle for grazing land. So the U.S. government, with our own tax dollars, literally round up thousands upon thousands upon thousands of wild American horses. Like in a 2-year period, I think from like 2019 to 2021, they rounded up like 20,000 wild American horses on behalf of the animal agriculture industry so that cattle ranchers can maximize their profits. So that cattle don't have to compete with these horses for grazing land and for water resources. Those horses end up in government holding facilities, and then from there they're typically auctioned off, and it's mostly kill buyers buying them up cheap at auction, and then they ship them into Canada, ship them into Mexico, where they are slaughtered for horse meat. That is what they're doing with our wild American horses so people can eat a fucking steak. Yeah, so don't tell me you're an animal lover. You're not. If you're not vegan, you're not an animal lover. You're their worst enemy. They're also killing off the wolves, cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes, lynxes, foxes, because those animals are a threat to livestock. They're even killing off sea lions over fish. The fishing industry. Fishing industry is having the sea lions killed off, having seals killed off, having dolphins and whales killed off. So yeah, non-vegans are literally causing the 6th mass extinction. And I'm not even exaggerating. Non-vegans are literally causing the 6th mass extinction. So you need to go vegan. You need to go vegan now. Stop making excuses. Right here on TikTok, just do a search for vegan recipes. You'll come across endless vegan recipes. You can see how easy it is to be vegan. You can see how delicious vegan food is if you just start trying some of those recipes out. I eat delicious foods all day long. I actually gained weight when I went vegan because the food is so good. When I went vegan, my only regret was that I did not do it a hell of a lot sooner. That was my only regret about going vegan, is that I didn't do it a hell of a lot sooner. I just didn't know better growing up. I was not taught better. We're conditioned to believe that it's necessary, that it's normal, that it's natural. Nothing natural happening to these animals. Literally, they're sexually abusing animals to get them to get them to reproduce, mutilating their babies, forcing these babies to live in unnatural environments, huge industrial sheds, isolation pens. It's not natural. None of this is natural for these animals. And it's not necessary. Not at all. In fact, the more animal flesh and secretions you consume, the more risk you have of heart disease, kidney disease, cerebrovascular disease, causing another pandemic like bird flu, swine flu. So it just makes sense to be vegan. Makes no sense to not be vegan. So yeah, stop turning animals into shit, because that's what you're doing. You're literally paying an industry, supporting an industry that treats animals like shit. They force these animals to live in shit just so you can spend a few minutes feasting on their flesh, and then you literally turn them into shit, and then you flush them down the toilet, and then you claim to be an animal lover. You're not an animal lover. You're not. If you're not vegan, you are not an animal lover. You are their worst enemy. And it's just weird, like Brandy. Brandy, did you hear about the story of Brandy, the 17-year-old cat in Australia that was beat to death with a baseball bat by these two punks? Yeah, that story made world news. And there's a petition on change.org for Brandy. You should visit change.org and sign that petition for Brandy to make sure those two punks that beat her to death with that baseball bat get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But you know what's interesting is that so many people heard about that story, and I guarantee most of those people were outraged. We're thinking, what a bunch of monsters. Who could do that to an innocent animal? But then you turn around and literally every few hours of every day, you pay a slaughterhouse worker to decapitate an animal, hack them up into pieces so you can feast on their flesh and literally turn these animals into shit. And you're doing that every few hours of every day for every single non-vegan product you consume. Wake up, wise up, and go vegan. And stop with the ridiculous excuses. There's absolutely no excuse for you to not be vegan.